TaraChessAcademy, and today we are going to discuss about why it's important to think about the best options for you and your opponent.
Hi everyone!
Hi everyone!
Yeah, so we prepared an interesting position for today. Let's start. You see the endgame, rook versus pawn, and the white pawn moves up, so it's quite close to promote. In this position, the black king is too far away from the pawn, that's why it can't help the rook to stop it. That's why rook is not, I would say, more stronger than the pawn in this endgame, and black would be okay with a draw. Yeah, so if black has a chance to play rook d6 to pin the pawn and just to capture it, it's okay. So black probably doesn't have any chances to win. But white has a chance to win. So let's see what we can do. Tara, please.
So I'm pondering between king a6, king b7, and pawn to c7. So let's go over each of those options. If I move the king to a6, I don't really get how this makes sense because the rook is going to move to d6, and after you make any move, black is just going to capture the pinned pawn. So if we go back and calculate the other option, which is king to b7, I don't really see how it would work because black will just play rook to c5 and win the pawn. Same thing goes with king to b5. So if for a minute we look at pawn to c7, and the rook gives a check.
Yeah, so it's important probably to say that the black rook can't get to the last rank to stop the pawn or to c-file. So if black doesn't want to lose immediately, the rook has to move to d6 with a check.
And now we have plenty of options to move the king, but we have to be very careful about which option is the best. Because remember, in today's video, we're thinking about analyzing our options and figuring out which one is the best option. So we have king to a5, king b5, king c5, a7 or b7. If I move to a7 or b7, what do you think black will do next? Remember, we're thinking about not just what are the best options for us, but the best options for our opponent as well. So the best move for black would be rook to d7. So with either king a7 or king b7, black will still play rook d7 and capture the pawn, and the game will be a draw. So let's go back for a minute. We've ruled out king a7 and b7. Let's think about king c5. So if king c5, what do you think would be the best move for black? So I think the best move for black would be rook to d1, with the idea of rook to c1 if the pawn promotes. And that would be a skewer, since after the king moves, black would capture the piece behind it.
Yeah, so rook c1, the king moves away, and it's a win and can't game for black. If white tries to defend the pawn and plays king b6, then rook c1, and black always can trade the rook to the pawn. So that's why king c5 doesn't work, king a7, king b7 doesn't work. I think that king a5 doesn't make any sense, then black gets a win and can't game after rook c6. It's not possible to defend c7. So yeah, I'm just gonna circle all the moves that don't work, and this is how we probably have just one option.
We do, and that option is king b5.
Yeah, so the king goes to b5. Now let's see what black should do. So rook c6 still not possible, rook to d8 is not possible, so if black doesn't want to resign immediately, it should be a check. I don't see anything better than rook d5.
Right, so after rook to d5, the king is put in check, and we're again faced with the option where we're again faced in a situation where we have plenty of options, and we have to calculate deeply into the future to figure out which is the best. So we could move to a6, b6, c6, c4, b4, or a4. If I move to c6, it wouldn't work for the same reason. The rook would move to d1 and then play rook c1 to make a skewer. And finally, when the piece that's behind it, which could be a pawn or it could be the piece that promoted. So if we go back for a minute, it might not be king to c6 for that reason. So let's think about king to b6. If I move the king to b6, this would kind of just be a repetition because the king was already on b6 and it's moving back, and finally again to b6. So if black moves the rook to d6, and then we move our king to b7, or king to b5.
King b7, yeah. We just repeat.
Right, and we're looking for a win here as white and not a draw, so this is probably not what we're going for.
Yeah. So what else should we do? I don't think that king a6 looks so good here because then c5 becomes available for the rook. So where to move the king, Tara? What ideas do you have?
I'm thinking about king to b4 with the idea of stopping the rook from moving to c5, as well as not being in the same file as the pawn to avoid any chances of a skewer.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't think that black has anything better than rook to d4. Yeah, so check is still available for black. And following the previous idea, yeah, I don't think that it makes any sense to move the king far away from the pawn, yeah, to a file, for instance. We know that if we play king b5, it still looks like a repetition, yeah? So, probably we can discuss the third rank, b3 or c3. So, what do you think, Tara?
I would go for b3 to be safe and not be put in the same file as the pawn. So I would choose b3.
Yeah, so king b3 is the right move, but I think in this position we're much closer to the first rank, so I would say that both of these moves are gonna work. So even if we play king c3, rook d1 doesn't let black to make a draw, yeah, because where would you move the king?
Well, the king could move to b3.
To c2, I guess, yeah?
Yeah.
So, and c1 is not available for the rook. But in this position, king b3 is also okay. So we're gonna get very similar position. Probably black has to continue with checking the king. So rook d3, king c2. Yeah, so this position is also winning, should be winning, yeah, no matter where the rook is on d3 or d1. Yeah, like this. So like it's still the right position that white wants to get. And now you may think that, okay, black doesn't have any good checks, it's not possible to do a skewer, it's not possible to stop the pawn, so that's all, I finished my calculations. But it's just the middle of the combination, because as Tara said when we started the video, you have to find best options not just for yourself but also for your opponent. So in this position, black still has a chance to stalemate. So Tara, please, what ideas do you have?
Well, stalemate means that you don't have anywhere to move to and you're not put in a check. So I was thinking about rook to d8, but I don't know how good that is because the pawn will just capture the rook and promote to whatever piece. Probably the queen, but it doesn't look great. If the rook moves to c1, that just looks like a very bad move because the king would capture the rook, and we didn't create a stalemate, so it didn't work out for us. If we play rook to d2, it's a similar reason. No matter how we try to sacrifice our rook, it doesn't really work because our king has still a lot of possibilities. So none of the rook sacrifices seem to work.
So I think that we shouldn't sacrifice the rook immediately. Maybe it takes some time. So for now, the black king can't move to b1 and b2, yeah? And the only move that the king has is a2. So probably you have to sacrifice the rook, and for instance, the white queen should control a2. So let's see what we can do. probably the white queen should get to this diagonal, yeah, to control a2. What can we do? We can try to sacrifice the rook on the last rank, yeah, rook g8. So white promotes to a queen, you play rook g8, but your opponent doesn't have to get into the trap. So, of course, if the queen captures the rook, it's a stalemate. But white doesn't have to make this mistake. So I think white should play queen a6, which is mate. So that's why it also should help us to find the right plan for black. It means that probably black should sacrifice the rook with a check, and white shouldn't have a choice to capture it or not to capture. So where on this diagonal would be a square, yeah, from where the rook gonna check the white king. What do you think, Tara?
Well, I don't know if I want to go to d4 with the idea of moving to c4, in that the king can move to c3 and stop the rook from giving a check. So I
Really?
would try.
But what happens after king c3?
After king c3, our rook got attacked, and
yeah, I think that black has just repetition, rook d1, yeah, because now this plan with skewer works again. If king c2, rook d4, king c3, rook d1. So that's why king c3 doesn't prevent this plan, yeah? And if white promotes to a queen, the plan should work. It's a check, and white can't ignore this check. If you just move the king away, you're gonna lose the queen, so that's why the queen has to capture the rook. Is it a stalemate?
Yes, because the king is not in check, and anywhere it could move to would not be allowed.
Okay, so that's why in this position, white shouldn't promote to a queen. Yes, this is the last chance for black. If white promotes to a queen, then it's a stalemate. Of course, it doesn't make sense to promote to a knight or to a bishop. Yeah, it will be a losing position for white. As we discussed before, king c3, yeah, it doesn't help. It's just a repetition. So maybe we can try to promote to a rook. But if we promote to a rook, it looks just like an equal endgame. We don't have any extra material. So is it a winning position for white, Tara?
This would not be a winning position because after rook c4 and the rook captures, black still has the move king to a2, which would prevent it from being a stalemate.
Yeah, so probably you mean that it's not a draw position for black, yeah? And rook c4 doesn't work. So rook c4 doesn't make any sense. So what happens after white promoted to a rook? So I think that white has a plan to mate with rook a8, yeah? If black moves the king, it doesn't destroy the plan. Yeah, so the rook finally gets to a4 with mate. So I think that now black has to do something against rook a8. So what can black do? How could the black rook help to avoid this mate?
Black could try rook a4 with the idea of stopping the white rook from moving to a8, because now if it moves there, of course we're just going to capture it.
Okay, and do we have any chance to win in this position?
Well, I don't know if we have a chance to win because I don't see any chances of a checkmate, and with both sides having a rook, it looks like a draw endgame.
Yeah, but maybe we still can try. Maybe we just should find another plan. If we can't get to a file, maybe we can try to get with the rook to the first rank. But for now, the king is on the way. So what if we play king b3? And
that
we
looks
have...
like a good idea. If the king is attacking the rook, as well as the rook is threatening to move down to the back rank and make a checkmate.
Yeah, so I don't see how black can avoid both of these problems. Yeah, if the rook moves away, it's mate. If the king comes to b1 to defend c1, black loses the rook. Yeah, so that's why in this position you may think that okay, it's a draw, just an equal endgame. Yeah, but After rook a4, white has a nice idea of playing king b3. So just a winning endgame for white.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to others. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
Bye!